February 28th, 1994. The sun barely peeks over the Bosnian hills. But in the gray light of dawn, 6 old jets rise from the runway, bound for danger and history. They belong to the Bosnian Serb Air Force. The men flying them, volunteers, determined, outdated. Leading them is Ranko Vukmirovic, a seasoned pilot with nerves of steel, flying a jet designed for a war that no longer exists. Their mission: strike a weapons factory deep inside government-held territory. Their orders: violate NATO's newly established no-fly zone. Their aircraft: the J-21 Jastrebs, slow, underarmed, practically invisible on the global stage until today. 50 miles away, 2 F-16s of the United States Air Force are patrolling the skies, equipped with radar, heat seekers, and missiles guided by onboard computers. They represent the sharp edge of 20th century air power. What follows is a brief, brutal encounter, a clash between old and new, and the first time NATO would ever fire in anger. Six aging jets hug the Bosnian terrain, flying just feet above the hills. Their only hope: stay below the radar, stay invisible. The mission is clear bomb, a weapons factory in government-held territory. But the danger is obvious. They are flying straight into a NATO no-fly zone. And NATO is watching as the target nears. The Jastrebs climb to 2,000 meters to begin their attack run. In that moment, the Serbian jets light up the NATO radar like fireworks in the sky. 50 miles away, 2 American F-16s get the call. Black flight.
Copy that,
You have
Viper.
6
You are
bogeys.
clear to engage.
BRAA 320 for 52 at 7,000. Flanking. Copy that. In the cockpits of those F-16s sit 2 experienced U.S. Air Force pilots, Robert Wilbur Wright and Stephen Yogi Allen. Their job is not to warn. Not today. Their job is to intercept. Back with the Serbs, Vukmirovic has eyes on the target. He arms his bombs. The flight falls into formation 2 by 2, preparing for the drop. Then, a voice crackles on the radio. American aircraft ahead of you. Vukmirovic's stomach drops. He sees them 2 gray silhouettes with white vapor trails streaking across the sky. F-16s, dead ahead. He pauses. Just a second. Breathes in. I see. Let's go. He knows this could be the end, but he doesn't flinch. The mission comes first. The F-16s scream past, engines howling a show of force. A warning, but not a shot fired. American Ferraris. One of the Serbian pilots jokes, nervously. Focus on the target. Despite the tension, they press on. Their objective is in sight, flying blind with outdated tech. They rely on old-school optics and instinct. No radar locks, no guided bombs. Just steel nerves and crosshairs. One by one, they release. 6 aging jets drop their 550-pound bombs onto the weapons factory, striking from multiple angles. It's a primitive strike, but it works. The target is hit. Objective complete. Turn for home. But the real fight is just beginning. In the sky behind them, the F-16s bank sharply. Then, a voice crackles through NATO comms. They've dropped bombs. Understood. You're clear to engage. Weapons free. It's on. At the rear of the J-21 formation, pilot Zlatan Krnalic looks over his shoulder. Then a flash. The F-16 pilot flips his thumb guard open and taps the switch on his right side display. HUD glows green. A box locks onto the trailing Jastreb. Fox 3. From the wingtip, the AM-120 AMRAAM launches. A supersonic roar as the missile streaks away. Locked on radar. Krnalic sees a fireball behind him. His wingman's jet shredded. The Americans are behind us. Scatter. Run. What had been a formation turns into chaos. Jets dive for the valleys, weaving through hills. Each pilot flies for his life, but the F-16s are built for this. Low-altitude dogfighting, fast radar locks, high G turns. One American stays high, tracking. The other drops in, hunting. Behind Krnalic, another lock. Fox 2. An AIM-9 Sidewinder screams off the rail, hunting heat. It chases him down through the hills. He dodges high-voltage wires, skims rooftops. The missile explodes just behind, clipping his stabilizer. He's hit, but still flying. His radio's dead. He's alone. He glances back, expecting a final blow, but the F-16 pulls away. Mercy, or just reloading. Elsewhere, Makarovich watches in horror as his wingman is incinerated by another AMRAAM. Pesic is down. The American is on me. Another lock. Another Fox 3. His jet is torn apart. Flames everywhere. Smoke in the cockpit. He ejects just in time. From 6, they are now 4, and the F-16s are far from done. Zlatan Crnalic is flying blind. His wingman is gone. His tail is damaged. His radio silent. The heat seeker is still coming. A Sidewinder missile, hungry for the glow of hot exhaust, screams behind him. He dives lower. The trees blur. Electrical lines whip past his cockpit too close. The missile detonates midair, clipping his vertical stabilizer. Smoke trails from his jet. But he's alive. Crnalic clutches the stick, heart pounding. He knows one more hit, and he's done, but nothing comes. The F-16 behind him pulls away. The hunt moves on. Elsewhere, Makarovich watches fire bloom in the sky. Pesic, his wingman, just became a fireball. An AMRAAM caught him mid-turn. 1 second to jet. The next, wreckage. Pesic is down. The American is on me. The warning comes too late. A second missile slams into Makarovich's engines. Flames tear through the fuselage. I'm hit. I'm on fire. His cockpit fills with smoke. Panels melt. He pulls hard on the ejection handle, the last thing he can do. The seat rockets out. A figure parachutes down through the smoke, just seconds before the jet disintegrates behind him. Back in the hills, Vukmirovic hears the death toll over radio. 1, 2, 3. He's running low on fuel. So is hope. Then he sees it. 2 new blips on radar. Reinforcements. Another F-16 pair inbound from NATO command. There's no outrunning them. Only one option remains. Gamble everything. Follow me. He radios to his wingman, Goran Zaric. He pitches the nose down. Hard. Both jets dive straight toward the side of a mountain. Pull up as late as possible. At the last moment, they yank the controls. The jets scream inches over the ground. G-forces crush them into their seats. But it's too late. Vukmirovic's jet clips a ridge. The undercarriage hits. First, then the fuselage folds in half. A flash. A fireball. There's no parachute. Zaric keeps going, but only for seconds. Fox 2. The Sidewinder locks on. Zaric pulls. Dives. Anything to escape. Too low. The missile explodes into his tail. He punches out, but there's no time. The parachute never opens. Zaric falls back into the burning wreck of his own jet. Only smoke remains. NATO calls it Splash 1. And then again, Splash 2. Splash 3. Zlatan Crnalic is the last one left in the sky. His J-21 is limping. The vertical stabilizer is shredded. The radio is dead. Gauges flicker. The aircraft groans beneath him like a wounded animal begging to rest. He knows he won't make it home. Then, a sound. A roar from behind. An F-16 appears in his 6. Fast, precise, predatory. Crnalic tenses. His fingers grip the emergency ejection handle. 1 missile. That's all it would take. 1 button press, and he becomes vapor. The American jet pulls closer. Then something unexpected. The F-16 doesn't fire. It levels off. Matches his speed. Side by side now, 2 pilots. 2 enemies. 2 men who survived what the others didn't. Crnalic turns his head. Through the canopy, he sees him. The American raises a hand. Salutes. And just like that, he banks away. Disappears into the horizon. Crnalic would later say, "I don't have any bad feelings towards the American pilots. We had our task. They had theirs." 3 of the 6 Jastreb pilots never returned. But this final gesture, it wasn't war. It was respect. By the time the skies quieted, only 3 Jastrebs made it home. 3 out of 6 of the others. 1 burned in the valley. 1 never pulled his chute. 1 ejected into the flames. For NATO, it was a decisive message. Major Robert Wilbur Wright scored 3 confirmed kills, the highest tally for a U.S. Air Force pilot in a single mission since the Korean War. Captain Stephen Yogi Allen claimed 1 more, but this was about more than numbers. This was NATO's first ever combat engagement. The first time the alliance fired a shot in war, not over Brussels. Not in theory, but in the cold morning air above Bosnia. It marked a new chapter 1 where diplomacy had wings and treaties carried missiles. This wasn't a fair fight. The Jastrebs were relics, the F-16's predators of the modern age. But war has never been fair. It's not just about weapons, or speed, or range. It's about orders, about duty, and sometimes about mercy. In that sky over Bosnia, it wasn't just missiles that flew. It was decisions. One pilot saw the fire in his wingman's jet and didn't stop running. One pulled his ejection handle with flames licking at his boots, and one flying home in a broken machine. Ready to die was spared by a salute. That moment never made the front page. There were no medals for it, no paredes. But for the men who flew that morning, it changed everything. They came to drop bombs. They ended up making history. A distant shot of Krnalich's damaged J-21, limping home against the pale light of dawn. The American F-16, banking gently away into the clouds. No guns, no flames, just sky and silence. History doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers between 2 cockpits in the cold morning air.